you, tired of ALEISTER? This is how you beat it. What is going on, guys? This is Miasin, and I will be reviewing another really old trap card by the name of Chain Disappearance. So the newer players might not even know that it exists, and even the older players might also not know that it exists, because the last time this card saw play was in Zodiac format back in 2017. But could this card be playable again? Well, I'm going to try to analyze it as much as I possibly can, just like I did with Summoning Curse and every other card I usually review on my channel. But before we get into this review, if you could actually like and subscribe, that would motivate me a lot to keep existing, and let's get into the video. So first of all, Chain Disappearance is a normal trap card, not once per turn. Again, it's an old card, so it doesn't have to be once per turn. When a monsters with 1000 attack or less is summoned, banish that monster or monsters with 1000 or less attack, then your opponent, only your opponent, banishes all cards with the same name as that cards from their hand and deck. Now, it actually says as the same name as the card, so I think if you banish like a trap monster like Conquistador, I think your opponent still has to banish like obvious copies of Conquistador from your deck, but I could be wrong. One really cool thing about this card is that it triggers on any form of summon, which includes normal, special, and flip summons, which could kind of be relevant in a way, but at the same time, who flip summons in 2021? But you get the point, okay? It at least covers as much ground as humanly possible. In 2017, during Zodiac format, this card was really good, because if your opponent was going normal summon rat or even special summon rat off of Barrage, you would go Chain Disappearance, banish that rat, so your opponent would lose one card, but at the same time, your opponent would lose every single copy of rat in the hand and deck, meaning that the rank 4 combo was basically just impossible unless your opponent had like actual extenders, and your opponent couldn't dodge Chain Disappearance with cards like My Body as a shield or use extenders like Monster Reborn or Shuffle Reborn, because the cards would all get banished and not go to the graveyard, which is huge. In today's metagame, it's a little weirder given the insane variety in decks, but it still definitely has its own applications. Using this card against ALEISTER the Invoker, for example, is pretty nice, because your opponent would have to lose every single copy of ALEISTER, the summoned copy on the field, and then every ALEISTER's in hand and in deck, meaning that the invocations are all going to be break. So even if your opponent had ALEISTER plus invocation, if you go imperm, it's not a really good trade because your opponent has the invocation as a follow-up anyways. But if you have Chain Disappearance, then your opponent is left with what, 4 cards in the hand plus 2 invocations which do nothing, so your opponent would have to find a way to get back at least one ALEISTER back into his property, either by discarding an invocation or using something weird like Thought of, forgot the name. It's pretty devastating against ALEISTER, or rather should I say invoke-to-base strategies. I guess I want to say the main bummer with this card is that it only applies to really weak, or rather should I say low attack monsters, 1000 or less. If you're playing against something like Drytron, where every Drytron monster has 2000 attack, it's definitely not ideal. Virtual World also, all their monsters are pretty high attack for the most part, not all of them. Obviously, there are a lot of Virtual World monsters that you should be able to completely cook with Chain Disappearance, and given the fact that it's not a once per turn card, it could still have a pretty high impact, but you get the point. It's definitely the kind of card that would have been much better if it said, I don't know, like 2000 or less attack, but then people would still find a way to complain and say like, just forget the attack restriction, just allow it to kind of cover every single monster out there. Then people would complain it's overpowered. You know the deal, Yu-Gi-Oh players are always like that. Against Salamangreat, it's shockingly pretty good because the majority of the Salamangreat monsters don't have like a huge amount of attack. Now, the main blowout is resolving this card against Prankids. You immediately win the game if you can successfully resolve this against the correct Prankid, because your opponent would literally have absolutely nothing. You make your opponent lose the normal summon, which again is gigantic, but also every single copy of that Prankid in the hand and deck, so your opponent will no longer be able to go into Battle Butler for the rest of the entire duel, since he won't have a specific kind of the 3 attribute card like Dropsies or I think Fancies. Both of them have really low attack, so Chain Disappearance will work extremely effectively against both of them. But yeah, given the fact that it doesn't necessarily hit all the top tier meta decks at the current moment, because I clearly said that it's pretty bad against Drytron, it's not necessarily good against Tri-Brigade unless the normal summon or I guess the normal summon would be Rat, Kit, or Nerval, removal, and it's also not super good against Dragon Link because their monsters definitely kind of have high attack sometimes. Striker Dragon is like a one-of anyways, and there's nothing to banish in the main deck when you banish Striker Dragon. Obviously, it's in the extra deck, but you get the point. I definitely still believe that it's the kind of card that you have to be on the lookout for in case it becomes good again at, you know, the middle of nowhere, because that's how it became popular back in 2017, literally just completely sporadically. But yeah, in conclusion, do I believe that this card should be in everybody's main deck or side deck? It should never be in your main deck. I think that is way too much. So if there's like an ALEISTER the Invoker 2.0 for other decks, definitely do play a card like Chain Disappearance in your side deck, or at least consider it. But as long as people are playing 20 billion decks, I don't think it's really worth it. But that's just my opinion. I don't know what you guys think of the card. Please let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.